Hey everyone, I'm Amy White, intuitive coach and medium, and I'm here with my friend and colleague extraordinaire, Elizabeth Miner.
Hi.
Elizabeth is a life and business coach, and we just decided to hit record on our call today because we are talking about, we're jamming on, as Elizabeth likes to say, all of the good stuff that we're pulling together for our upcoming workshop series. For those of you who don't know or haven't seen, we are launching a workshop series this year that's going to start in Northern California and expand across the country during 2018, called Living Your Inspired Life. And I think every time Elizabeth and I get on the phone, I feel so inspired, and I find new ways to live my own inspired life that we thought we're just going to kind of let you in a little bit on our conversations and help you to get a better understanding of what we mean when we say living your inspired life and what that can mean for you.
Yeah, and we just get so excited every time we get on the phone and we start to talk about this. So we decided we definitely needed to bring you guys in and let you guys know what all the excitement is all about, because, we just can't save this all up for us. So
Right.
we definitely had to bring you guys in on it. So living an inspired life, what does that mean? For me, that means living in abundance. That's certainly my tagline, but it's living in the manner that brings you joy. It's having the people and the things in your life that bring you joy, and really living true to what your personal needs are. And that's not forsaking all others, but it is, not going by the book if that's what your personal compass really does. And I'm living proof. My personal compass is not by the book. So, and it's like not everybody's excited about it. Ask my dad. He still would like Panama to be right next to Boston. But it's not. And I had to follow what was good for me. But that comes from this understanding of what's right. So it's learning that. It's learning what's right for you, and then having the tools to understand that, and then moving forward into that which brings you joy. And the way I live my life brings me joy.
Yeah.
What about you, Amy?
Well, I think I love, every time I hear you tell the story of deciding to sell everything, pack up, 3 suitcases and your dog, and head to Panama. To me, there's so much inspiration in that story. But I can also say that your inspired life isn't my inspired life.
Exactly.
And I think that's such an important thing to point out, because there isn't one way. There isn't one way to live your inspired life. I think for me, it's really tapping into what is it? Like, I love what you said, like what brings me joy. Mm-hmm. To me, that joy, what brings me joy and what inspires me are very, very similar. Because when I feel inspired, my heart is just full of joy. It's full of joy and hope. It's full of excitement. That to me is bringing me to a place of inspiration. Mm. But, I also don't want at this point, though I know you keep trying to encourage me to pack up.
Probably won't stop even.
No, pack up my stuff and head to Panama or Colombia or wherever you're going to go next. And maybe someday that becomes my inspired path. But I think really for me, and we've been talking about this a lot, especially in regards to this workshop, is that the most important part of living your inspired life is being able to tap into what it is you want without all of the noise that comes around you, right? From opinions and from social constructs and from stories that we have that we were handed, when we were children about what obligation means. I can remember so many times like hearing my father say, well, you picked that path and now you stick with it, or you made your bed and now you lie in it. And it's like, we end up creating these things where we block ourselves from I don't even talk about moving towards your, inspired life, but even blocking ourselves from being able to think about what it would mean if we could choose to live any way that we want.
Yeah, because it ends up being too painful. So we numb that out and we don't listen to ourselves, right? We stop listening to ourselves and we find all sorts of excuses not to hear that little voice inside going, hey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think really being able to tap into that internal knowing is one of our superpowers. In fact, it's probably our biggest superpower, between that and compassion, because I think that's also a superpower. And when we can tap into our inner knowing and have compassion for ourselves, I don't think that there's anything that can stop us from living whatever life we want, living an inspired life, living an exciting life, living an adventurous life. It all comes from that place. And that's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but I think that's one of the keys to this.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that your inspired life could be living on an island, but it also could be being a stay-at-home mom. It could be, doing something that people are like, oh, well, that's not inspired. That's regular. That's not. If that's who you are, the living an inspired life is living a true life, true to what you need and want and what brings you joy. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this big grandiose thing. It could be, and I want to encourage it if it is, because, it could be too big. It scares you and that you're like, oh, I could never. And I hear that all the time. But it could be something that is very much in front of you right now, but you haven't dedicated yourself or given yourself permission to be that at all the fiber of your being that you want to be that, and get rid of the guilt. I've been a working mom all my life, and I've known working women who have been riddled with guilt because they're not home with their kids. And then I know some stay-at-home moms that were riddled with guilt because they weren't working. Yeah. And, this is, and you say this on occasion, to be unapologetically who you are. And I think that that's really the crux of this inspired life. It doesn't have to be this big, huge thing. Yeah. It can be this very, very simple thing. Living a simple life would be just fine, would be great if it brings you joy and you get rid of all the noise around it. I think that is super important to point out to people so they don't get scared off that they have to sell their goods and pack up and move to
Exactly.
It's going to get crowded over here.
Exactly. And I would even take it a step further to say, maybe it's not even about, is it a big thing or is it a simple thing, but is it a thing that I want to be doing? And does it fit? Like, how does it feel in my body when I think about me doing that thing? Right. Because that's, I'm going to go back to this inner knowing, right? That is your inner knowing, which says, no matter what society calls it or how you judge it or how other people judge it, if it's for you, it's for you. And that's the leap that we take from living our lives the way we think we should, and we should all over ourselves all the time. Yes. It's that leap we take from the think we should to the what we truly feel inspired to be living.
Yeah.
It's big. It's big. And I think one of the challenges is, and we talk about this all the time, is about what does it mean to tap into that inner knowing? What does it look like? I hear all the time from my clients, I'm not intuitive, or I don't have any intuitive abilities. And then I say, have you ever been at a stop sign and we're getting ready to cross the intersection and something told you to wait a minute? And when you waited, a car ran the stop sign the other way. That is your intuition. That is your inner knowing. It's not, you don't have to, and I think we spend so much time comparing ourselves to everyone else. So,
Yes.
Tapping into your intuition doesn't mean that you then take it and go out and become an intuitive medium like I am. I mean, believe me, that's a whole other leap, right? It is my inspired life, but it's a whole other leap. But I think what we often forget, or maybe we're not told, or maybe even the term intuition creates a barrier or a block for us,
I think
is that we have the knowing inside us to help direct us along our path. And it's a very simple process to learn how to tap into that for our own good, for our own personal journey. Even if we use it for nothing else in life, except to know that we have this tool that allows us to check in and find out, are we on the right path? And I tend to talk a lot about not just the right path, but the right now path.
Right.
Are we on the right now path? Is this the next best step for me, or isn't it? And that's, I think, one of the big parts of this workshop that we're developing is teaching people how to just know how intuition shows up for them, because it's different for everyone,
Right.
And even like I think about my own evolution as an intuitive and how intuition would show up kind of haphazardly, like all of a sudden I would have a sense or have a gut feeling about something and it would happen. And I always wondered, like, okay, that's cool, but how can I harness that so that I can use it in a way that helps influence and inform my next steps?
Yeah, and that's such an important gift, and it resides in everybody. It's a matter of trying to figure out, like you said, how to harness that and how to call on it when, especially, living an inspired life, it's not all rainbows and puppy dogs, right? And sometimes when the storm clouds come in is really when you need to tap in, right?
Yeah.
And just check yourself. Am I on the right course? Am I just supposed to go through this storm because I'm supposed to learn something? That's okay too, right?
Yeah.
But what's going on, and it helps that you're not alone, kind of.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's just a wild thing, but that's the thing that I think you pointed out, and I think it's super important, is the word intuition sometimes gets people all goofy with the whole woo-woo of it, but it's just like a gut feeling. It's just that people have gut feelings all the time, or people have these things all the time, and I'd venture to guess everybody in the world can absolutely think about at least 10 times where they've had something happen, and that it was, like you said, they hesitated at a stop sign and missed getting schmucked by the other car, right?
Yep.
So there's all these examples that we have had them in our lives, but it's making those connections that you are just particularly excellent at. And I know because you've helped me make my connections a lot when I'm just, have a tendency to ignore them or write them off to, I don't know what I've written them off to from time to time, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm just being silly. And no, that was my intuition, and that's okay. And don't have to be scared of it, or, don't have to, it's not a crazy thing that I need to be like, well, I'm not intuitive, so it couldn't have been intuition. It was just luck.
Exactly. And I hope that, that's a lot of the work that I'm doing with my clients today anyway. And I think that's why you and I thought, wow, what a great add to this workshop, right? I mean, we can teach practical tools and we can give practical resources about how you move your life forward in a way that leads you towards your inspired life. But this part of it, I think, is often overlooked because many times we're looking outside of ourselves for tools and for resources. And the combination of bringing the two together is so powerful. It's so powerful. But
intuition
intuition isn't the only thing that we need to be looking at when we are wanting to, move towards our inspired life. And we've talked about the fact that, our inspired life really is whatever we decide it looks like.
Right.
And then we've talked about tapping into this inner knowing to help kind of guide us in that direction. But, the other thing that you and I talk about all the time, I think probably most often, is about community. It's about who are the people that you surround yourself with that are going to help you to get, where you want to go. And to me, that is another really important aspect to living our lives in a way that is joy-filled and is a way that's inspiring. Because I know you and I both know there are people in our lives that can try to dissuade us from these things that we want to do. And especially if what we want to do can be judged as a little bit risky or a little bit unconventional. And so when we think, when you think about who those people are that you surround yourself with, I encourage my clients all the time to look at who are their, as you say, who are your 5 people around you? Mm-hmm. Who are those 5 people, and are they moving you forward or are they holding you back? Even if they feel like, even if it's happening for, your own good. Right. I mean, I don't think in my life, when I allow people in my inner circle, I don't think that they would maliciously try to stop me from moving forward. But I have had people in my life that in my inner circle, I call it my board of directors. Who do I want on my board of directors? I've had people on my board of directors that would continuously show up in ways that would tell me why what I wanted to do wasn't a good idea. I think about especially like when I decided to quit my corporate job and, talk about taking a leap towards my inspired life, quit my corporate job, no safety net, no job lined up. And yet I knew, because my inner knowing was so loud and so direct about it, that was a step I had to take. Mm. So when I started to share that decision that I was making with my inner circle, with my board of directors, there were several people on the board of directors that not just wanted to make sure that I had assessed all of the options and really knew that I had a solid move, way forward. But there were people that were just digging their heels into the fact that it was going to be a complete and utter disaster for my life if I took that step. Right. And those aren't the people I want on my board of directors. In fact, those are the people who, and I may still love them, and most of those people are still in my life.
Absolutely.
But they're not in my life in that capacity.
Right.
And I think you had said something when we were talking about this a little earlier about the people that we have on our board of directors. We want to make sure that those people not only are just, cheering us on, but are also offering us the opportunity for accountability. Mm. That's key. It's great to fill your, dance card with people who are your biggest cheerleaders, but just being a cheerleader doesn't move you forward either, right? It's that combination, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, and it's the people that can ask questions that make you think. They're not going to give you the answers because they don't have the answers, but they have the life experience. They have your best interest at heart just to ask the questions and make sure that A, you've thought about everything, or B, that if you haven't thought about something, that maybe you take a look at that. But they're not telling you what will or will not happen. They can't predict this gloom and doom or this great sunshine. What they can do is say, you know what? You're equipped for this. You go after it. And I'm here by your side for anything you need. And I think in this workshop, we're going to teach people how to find those people, how to discern who those people are that should be on the board of directors, because it's not just the obvious people, the 5 people you spend the most time with. And by the way, in PS, we're going to ask you to look at who are the 5 people who you spend the most time with, because there's some exercises that we're going to want to do around that to see if those people are feeding you or if they're not feeding you and draining you. because we want to help you live in your greatest capacity with your best community beside you in the good times and the bad times, not just rainbows and puppy dogs, but with all that goes with life, because life has good and bad times, and you need the people on your board that are going to be able to stand by you and give you the questions and really help you move through whatever it is you're going through, be it positive, negative. It's just a thing. We talk all the time that it's not positive or negative, but the easy things or the hard things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I love that you just used the word discernment, because I think that that is a focus or a topic that flows through everything that we want to talk about in this workshop, right? You use discernment to look at what you want or don't want. You use discernment in your tapping into your intuition. You use discernment in deciding who gets a seat at your board table. And there's a discernment that comes along with looking at what are your beliefs that you carry with you that may be stopping you from living your inspired life.
Yes.
And that can be an even more challenging exercise.
Yes.
Because we often have these stories and limited beliefs in us that we don't even know are stories and limited beliefs. It's just what we were conditioned to believe, what we were conditioned to think about ourselves, what society has told us about ourselves. And once you start to practice discernment in other areas of your life, I think that's when you start to go, wait a minute, like, why am I even whose story is this? Whose belief is this? Whose belief is it that I'm supposed to go to work for a company and stay at that company for the rest of my life? Whose belief is that? Not that that's so possible anymore with the way of the business world. But I think that, certainly a belief that was handed to me when I started my career, so many years ago, not too many, but that I think is a really good example. I think on the flip side, there are limiting beliefs that, you brought up, like being a stay-at-home mom. I mean, God bless stay-at-home moms. I mean, for me, there's not a job harder. But if you're choosing to be a stay-at-home mother because of a belief that says that's what you should be doing, when really you're being a stay-at-home mother and dying inside the whole time because you want to be able to find a way to balance the responsibilities of taking care of your family with something that fulfills your needs, something that fulfills your dreams. That's where these limiting beliefs really stop us.
Right.
And like I said, we may not even know they're a limiting belief. We may not even know it's a story that we can question.
Yeah. That's so much fun to watch people kind of move through that stage and realize that, wow, I don't have to believe that. And I didn't even realize it, and that's super, super empowering. And it's so exciting to watch. And I'm looking forward to kind of working through that in the workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know on today's call, before we decided to let everyone in on our jam session, we were talking about what it will look like what people will walk away from this workshop with, some of the tools and some of the resources. But the thing that we both kind of agreed to is that if you leave this workshop and you feel empowered, and you feel inspired to take some different steps, or not even take different steps. That might be too much for some people.
Sure.
Maybe it's just about being willing to look at the whole picture a little bit from a different angle.
Yeah.
And decide, where do these things play out in your life, and where are they creating blocks, and where are they making pathways? To me, that's the ultimate output I love you. You say all the time, like, this is not the 7 secrets to living an inspired life.
Oh my God, no.
It's not what we're selling. It's not what we're selling.
And we're not going to say that you're going to walk out of here and all of a sudden rainbows will appear before you and it will be smooth sailing and you're going to be automatically transpired to your inspired life when you step outside the doors. This is a work in progress. This is an ongoing thing, but you will have the tools to continually check in and make this kind of a fluid dance, if you will, with your life. And you get to be more knowing of the music. Now you're dancing and you can hear the music. And so that helps you in having, not looking like the teenage boy at his first dance, right? It helps you look more like, maybe one of the Dancing with the Stars people as you move through your dance, because you know how to hear the music. And I think that that's super important. Knowing how to hear your intuition, really understanding your gifts and your talents and your skills that you want to share, and having the capability and the construct of the pathway to actually make moves to move into that. And then the final thing, having that community to create, creating your community to help you create and sustain this life. I mean, that is the whole package. And that's why we're so freaking excited about this, because it's one day and you have all the tools in front of you and you should be able to walk away and do with it as you see fit in the pacing that feels good to you, because it's all about listening to yourself, right? And some people might want to walk out of that door and sprint to the nearest Starbucks so they can sit down and really think about what they want to do and start planning and do all that. And then some people may take a week or two to just really settle in with this and play around with hearing their intuition. That's just perfect. Do what you need to do, but know you have the tools and you're empowered to live the life you want now that you have everything that you need.
Oh, it's so powerful. I cannot wait for this. I cannot wait for this workshop.
So
I think, the first one is in the Bay Area on March 10th. And then we're going to definitely be in Boston this year. We're going to be in Southern California. We're going to be in San Antonio, Austin area. We will probably be in Panama.
Looks that way.
Because I need to get down there and see what my
before I go
inspires me to do a little digital nomading. But yeah. And I think what's really cool is that there are people that have reached out to both you and I from other areas of the country that would be interested in having us come and do the workshop there. So yeah, I mean, if we can get 15 or 20 people together at a location ahead of time, I mean, that's enough to get us on the plane and get us to your city. So keep that in mind, because that would be super fun too. And I think what's really important, as I just said, like 15 or 20 people. We probably didn't say, but for us, it's really important that these workshops are very small and intimate.
Yes.
This isn't about selling out a ballroom. This is about creating an environment, setting the intention to create this container for all of this work and transformation to take root, And I think once you get into a bigger audience, you can lose some of that. We can do a different workshop for a bigger audience, but I think for this one, it's really about making sure that the people who are in attendance are able to do what they need to do in a safe space.
Yeah. And it's a way to be able to get to know the other people in the room really well, so that maybe these people become part of your community with that shared language, with the shared experience. And these might be people that, now end up being somebody you want to spend more time with because they are filling you and they are, together you can kind of stumble through how you're working through these things, right? So that is such a huge opportunity, as long as we keep it pretty intimate, because this is going to be some cool stuff, and it's going to get a little vulnerable. And so in order to make it easier for people to go there, we've handpicked the spaces for that reason, with that purpose in mind. And, we've handpicked the size because we wanted to keep it in a way that we thought people would feel most comfortable, or a size that we thought people would feel most comfortable. So that's super important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to deliver this first workshop with you. I cannot wait to span the US with you this year.
I know.
And I hope that if you're watching this and these are topics that are of interest to you, you can certainly find out more information by visiting either Elizabeth's website at www.thrivethisday.com or my website at amywhite.co. Catch you later.
See ya. Ciao.